On this planet, there are roads so terrifying that just seeing them makes you want to take a step back. A suspension bridge hanging nearly 300 meters above a canyon. A narrow wooden walkway bolted directly into a sheer cliff. A frozen lake solid enough for heavy trucks to drive across. Until it suddenly isn't, and mountain roads where drifting just a few inches off course could bring the journey to an immediate end. These aren't places for people looking for a relaxing, scenic drive. They're the kinds of roads that make your heart race before you even set foot on them. So why did people build them? And why do others still cross them every single day? Today, we're exploring 25 of the scariest roads and bridges in the world, places where one look is all it takes to understand why you would never want to be the next person crossing them. Royal Gorge Bridge, United States. Suspended nearly 300 meters above the Arkansas River, the Royal Gorge Bridge stretches like a thin silver thread between two towering sandstone cliffs. The uneasy feeling begins the moment your first steps land on more than 1,200 wooden planks suspended high above the canyon. Each plank creaks softly beneath your feet, while the wind whistles through the narrow gaps. With every step forward, both ends of the bridge seem to drift farther away. Far below, the Arkansas River rushes through the gorge, and the rafts on its surface shrink into tiny specks against the vast landscape. By the time you reach the middle of the bridge, the ground has almost completely disappeared from view. Many visitors instinctively slow their pace, wondering whether they really want to keep walking to the other side. Caminito del Rey, Spain. Caminito del Rey is a narrow wooden walkway bolted directly into the sheer cliffs of El Chorro Gorge. The trail stretches for about 7 kilometers, with some sections suspended more than 100 meters above the Guadalhorce River. The path is less than 2 meters wide. On one side rises a nearly 400-meter vertical rock face. On the other, the cliff drops straight into the gorge below. Every bend hides what lies ahead, so each turn brings a mix of curiosity and unease. Built in the early 20th century to give workers access to nearby hydroelectric facilities, the original walkway gradually fell into disrepair. Concrete crumbled away, guardrails disappeared, and only rusted steel supports remained clinging to the cliff. Today, the walkway has been fully restored, and every visitor is required to wear a safety helmet. But once the gorge opens beneath your feet, one thought quickly takes over. Watch every single step. Cliffhanger Road, carved into the side of the Himalayas, Cliffhanger Road is a narrow mountain track where some sections are barely wide enough for a single vehicle. Driving here means crawling forward at a walking pace. One side mirror nearly scrapes the rough rock wall, while the edge of the road sits just inches from the tires, dropping away into a deep gorge below. Every blind curve hides whatever is coming next, and there are very few places wide enough for two vehicles to pass. When an oncoming vehicle appears, one driver has no choice but to reverse, inch by inch, along the cliff's edge. There is no room for a sudden steering correction or even a moment of distraction. The rainy season makes the journey even more unpredictable. Loose rocks tumble down the mountainside, mud blankets the road, and the only sign that people still travel this route every day is the set of tire tracks left behind by those who made it through before. Angel's Landing, United States. Hidden among the towering red sandstone cliffs of Zion National Park, Angel's Landing is widely considered one of the most intimidating hiking trails in the United States. The trail gradually narrows into a thin ridgeline, where sheer cliffs rise on both sides and a steel chain anchored into the rock becomes the only handhold ahead. Some sections are only wide enough for a single person to pass, forcing hikers coming from opposite directions to stop and press themselves against the rock while waiting for the other to move through. Strong winds sweep across the ridge, while the steep drop below makes it difficult for many people to look down for more than a few seconds. Not everyone who reaches Angel's Landing makes it to the summit. Many hikers choose to turn back before the final stretch, discovering that overcoming fear can be even harder than conquering the mountain itself. Vitim River Bridge, Russia. Vitim River Bridge is so narrow that it leaves just enough room for a single vehicle to cross. It's the kind of bridge that makes many drivers stop for several minutes before they dare to move forward. The wooden deck is only wide enough for one vehicle, with no guardrails and no margin for error. All four tires must stay perfectly aligned on two weathered wooden planks, while the icy Vitim River flows far below. Every turn of the wheels brings a chorus of creaks, sending vibrations through the entire bridge as the vehicle inches across. In winter, snow and ice coat the wooden surface, making every steering adjustment even more demanding. For the local residents, this is simply part of the daily commute. But for many first-time visitors, reaching the opposite side is an experience they will never forget. Kamalya Stone Road, Türkiye. Carved into the walls of Karanlık Canyon in eastern Turkey, Kamalya Stone Road appears as a narrow ribbon clinging to the cliffs above the emerald waters of the Euphrates River. The road winds along the mountainside, disappearing into dark rock tunnels before suddenly emerging at the edge of steep drop-offs. Some sections are barely wide enough for a single vehicle to squeeze through. Low rock ceilings hang overhead, while the river lies far below at the bottom of the canyon. Every blind curve hides the road ahead, forcing drivers to slow down and place every steering input with precision. The entire route was carved by hand over generations of work, creating a passage through terrain that once seemed impossible to cross. From a distance, Kamalya looks like an extraordinary feat of engineering. But once your tires begin tracing the cliffside, it's easy to understand why so few people want to drive the entire route themselves. Karnali Highway, Nepal. Karnali Highway is the only road connecting the remote Karnali region to the rest of Nepal, winding along the steep mountainsides of the Himalayas. Some sections are barely wide enough for a single vehicle. Sheer rock walls press in on one side, while deep valleys and fast-flowing rivers stretch far below on the other. The greatest danger here isn't the sharp curves, but the landslides that arrive with every rainy season. Overnight, falling rocks and collapsing slopes can wipe out entire sections of the road, turning yesterday's route into an impassable gap along the mountainside. Even so, buses, supply trucks, and local residents continue making the journey. For many villages, if Karnali Highway is cut off, the road home disappears with it. Frozen Lake Highway, Canada. Every winter, when dozens of lakes across northern Canada freeze solid, Frozen Lake Highway emerges as a temporary lifeline connecting isolated communities across the Arctic. The snow-covered surface looks no different from an ordinary road, but beneath it lies a deep lake locked beneath a thick layer of ice. Hundreds of trucks carrying fuel, food, and medical supplies race against time to complete their deliveries before spring arrives. The greatest danger isn't the snow or the sub-zero temperatures, it's the ice beneath the wheels. Drive too fast, and the pressure created by the vehicle can increase the risk of cracking the ice ahead. That's why every trip follows carefully controlled speed limits, because sometimes the real danger isn't on the road, it's underneath it. Peak Walk by Tissot, Switzerland. High in the Swiss Alps, Peak Walk by Tissot connects two mountain peaks with a suspension bridge stretching more than 100 meters at an elevation of over 3,000 meters. The bridge is only wide enough for a steady flow of pedestrians. Thin steel railings line both sides, while snow-covered cliffs plunge away beneath your feet. The farther you walk toward the center, the stronger the alpine winds become, sending subtle vibrations through the bridge with every step. On some days, clouds sweep in within seconds, completely hiding the opposite end of the bridge. Surrounded by nothing but white, it's easy to lose all sense of distance and direction. At Peak Walk, the challenge isn't crossing a bridge that's just over 100 meters long. It's walking through a world of wind, clouds and open sky, where the horizon can disappear without warning. Lake Hillier, Australia. A bright pink lake on Middle Island looks so unreal that many first-time visitors assume the images have been digitally altered. This is Lake Hillier, one of Australia's most extraordinary natural wonders. The lake stretches for only about 600 meters, yet its vivid pink color remains almost unchanged throughout the year. Even more remarkably, the water keeps its distinctive color even after it's removed from the lake. Scientists believe the unusual color comes from the lake's extremely high salinity, along with salt-loving microorganisms and the algae Dunaliella salina. Even so, the exact process that creates its striking pink appearance has never been fully explained. Seen from above, Lake Hillier looks more like a scene from a visual effects studio than a real place. Yet this remarkable lake is entirely natural, making it one of the most unique landscapes in Australia. Sidu River Bridge, China. From a distance, Sidu River Bridge almost disappears into the clouds. It's only when a vehicle crosses that its enormous scale becomes clear, suspended between two towering cliffs. Spanning the Sidu Gorge in China's Hubei province, the bridge rises about 496 meters above the river below. When it opened in 2009, it briefly held the title of the world's highest bridge, so high that clouds often drift beneath the roadway. Its remarkable story isn't just about height. To stretch the first cable across the vast canyon, engineers launched a guideline to the opposite side using a rocket, an engineering solution that seemed more like something out of a movie. Today, thousands of vehicles cross the Sidu River Bridge every day, but one glance over the guardrail is enough to reveal nearly half a kilometer of open air below, a reminder that you're driving across one of the most breathtaking bridges ever built. Chesapeake Bay Bridge, United States. Stretching across Chesapeake Bay in the state of Maryland, Chesapeake Bay Bridge spans nearly 7 kilometers and is widely considered one of the most intimidating drives in the United States. The farther you travel across the bridge, the more the shoreline disappears behind you, leaving nothing ahead but a narrow strip of pavement surrounded by open water. On foggy days, both ends of the bridge can almost vanish from sight, blending the sky and the bay into one endless horizon. Strong crosswinds regularly sweep across the bridge, forcing drivers to keep a firm grip on the steering wheel throughout the crossing. For many people, the greatest challenge isn't the bridge itself. It's the feeling of being completely isolated in the middle of the bay with no clear destination in sight. That's why the bridge even offers a drive-over service, allowing trained drivers to take the wheel for those who aren't comfortable making the crossing on their own. Huashan Mountain Road, China. Huashan Plank Walk is a narrow wooden pathway bolted directly into the cliffs of Mount Huashan, leading to centuries-old Taoist temples perched high above Shanxi province. The wooden planks are less than half a meter wide, anchored into the rock face at an elevation of more than 2,000 meters. A sheer cliff rises on one side, while a vertical drop opens beneath the other, leaving a single steel cable as the only handhold along the route. Some sections are only wide enough for one person to pass. When hikers meet from opposite directions, one must press against the cliff and wait for the other to squeeze by before continuing. Many people don't truly relax until they step off the wooden planks, because every step along the route is taken with nothing but solid rock on one side and open air on the other. Fairy Meadows Road, Pakistan. To reach Fairy Meadows, the breathtaking alpine meadow beneath Nanga Parbat, every journey begins on Fairy Meadows Road, one of the most treacherous mountain roads in Pakistan. The unpaved road stretches for about 16 kilometers, hugging the mountainside with sections barely wide enough for a single jeep. A sheer rock wall rises on one side, while the other drops straight into a deep gorge with no guardrails. When two vehicles meet, one driver is almost always forced to reverse, inch by inch, along the cliff's edge to let the other pass. After heavy rain, landslides and mud can cover the road without warning, making every blind curve even more unpredictable. The road only takes visitors to the trailhead. From there, the rest of the journey continues on foot through the mountains as if the real challenge has only just begun. Kokoda Trail, Papua New Guinea. Mud blankets the trail, tree roots twist across the ground, and one steep, slippery climb follows another beneath the dense rainforest canopy of Papua New Guinea. Kokoda Track stretches for nearly 100 kilometers, cutting through some of the most rugged and unforgiving terrain in the region. A single heavy rainstorm is enough to turn long sections of the trail into deep, sticky mud that clings to every step and drains your energy. During World War II, thousands of soldiers fought their way across this jungle, enduring hunger, disease, and some of the Pacific's fiercest battles. Today, the trail remains just as demanding. The war is gone, but the landscape itself has become the greatest challenge. On the Kokoda Track, the distance ahead always feels much longer than it looks on a map. Bhairavadgarh Fort, India. Perched high in the mountains of Maharashtra, Bhairavadgarh Fort can only be reached by climbing a series of stone steps carved directly into the cliff centuries ago. The narrow trail rises at an almost vertical angle, forcing climbers to rely on both their hands and feet to work their way up the rock face. With every step higher, the drop behind becomes more exposed, while the weathered stone steps demand careful footing all the way to the top. Some sections offer almost nowhere to stop and rest. A single misstep is enough to throw your balance off on the steep mountain side. For many hikers, the real challenge at Bhairav Gad isn't the climb itself. It's staying calm until the final stretch of those exposed stone steps is finally behind them. Gehazi Bridge, China. Spanning a vast valley in the mountains of Sichuan province, Gehazi Bridge carries an expressway hundreds of meters above the ground, making the vehicles crossing it look like tiny dots from a distance. From inside the car, the drive feels much like any modern highway. But viewed from afar, the bridge seems to float between the clouds and the steep mountain slopes, as though the roadway were suspended in the sky. Massive concrete piers support the bridge high above the valley, while fog frequently blankets the landscape below, making the distance to the ground almost impossible to judge. It's only after looking back at the bridge from afar that many travelers realize they've just crossed one of the most spectacular mountain bridges in China. Kakum Canopy Walkway, Ghana. Stretching between the treetops of Kakum National Park in Ghana, Kakum Canopy Walkway is a network of suspension bridges that lifts visitors nearly 40 meters above the rainforest floor. The narrow wooden planks are suspended by steel cables, leaving just enough room for people to cross in single file. Every step sends a gentle vibration through the bridge, and the swaying becomes even more noticeable as more people make their way across. Instead of cliffs or rivers below, there's an endless canopy of dense rainforest concealing the ground beneath. The farther you walk toward the center, the more the treetops swallow the view below, leaving only the sounds of birds and wind rising from the forest. It's that feeling of walking above a living sea of green that causes many visitors to instinctively tighten their grip on the cables until they finally reach the platform on the other side. Commonwealth Avenue, Philippines. In the heart of Manila, Commonwealth Avenue stretches across 18 lanes, making it one of the busiest roads in the Philippines. Thousands of cars, buses, motorcycles, and the country's iconic jeepneys weave through traffic from morning until night. A wider road doesn't make the drive any easier. Vehicles constantly change lanes, brake suddenly, and fill every available gap within seconds. A single moment of distraction can trigger a chain reaction before the drivers behind have time to respond. For many years, Commonwealth Avenue earned the nickname Killer Highway because it consistently recorded one of the highest numbers of serious traffic accidents in the country. Here, the greatest danger doesn't come from towering cliffs or deep ravines. It comes from a river of traffic that never stops moving, where every decision behind the wheel has to be made in an instant. Caracarady Bridge, Northern Ireland. Stretching across a narrow sea channel off the coast of Northern Ireland, Caracarady Rope Bridge links the mainland to a small rocky island once used by salmon fishermen. The bridge is only about 20 meters long, yet it hangs nearly 30 meters above the crashing waves of the Atlantic Ocean below. The narrow wooden planks sway gently with every step, while powerful coastal winds sweep across the bridge, causing many visitors to instinctively tighten their grip on the ropes. Crossing takes less than a minute, but standing halfway across, with waves crashing against the cliffs and the bridge shifting beneath your feet, is enough to make many people pause before taking another step. Perhaps that's why Carrick-a-Ree continues to make visitors hesitate, even though the journey ahead is less than 20 meters long. Bac Long Glass Bridge, Vietnam. Spanning a deep valley between two mountains in Son-la Province, Bac Long Glass Bridge rises more than 600 meters above the ground and ranks among the longest glass bridges in the world. The bridge is paved with transparent glass panels, revealing steep cliffs and dense forest directly beneath your feet. The farther you walk toward the center, the more the empty space below comes into view, causing many visitors to slow their pace without even realizing it. On clear days, the entire valley stretches out beneath the glass. When clouds roll in, the bridge seems to float in a sea of white, with the opposite end sometimes disappearing completely from sight. Many visitors pause halfway across the bridge to steady their nerves before continuing. Because at Bac Long, the hardest part isn't the distance left to cross. It's the feeling of walking across a sheet of transparent glass, suspended high above the valley. Canning Stock Route, Australia. The blue sky stretches all the way to the horizon. Red sand covers the landscape in every direction, and ahead lies more than 1,800 kilometers, with almost no towns along the way. On both sides, there's nothing but desert, dust, and an endless horizon. There are stretches where you can drive for hours without seeing another vehicle. Cell phone service, gas stations, and the last signs of civilization disappear far behind you. Something as simple as a flat tire or a miscalculation in fuel can leave you stranded in summer temperatures that often climb above 45 degrees Celsius. At that point, the nearest inhabited place may be hundreds of kilometers away. On the Canning Stock route, the greatest fear isn't the road ahead. It's knowing that if your vehicle breaks down, there may be no one around to find you. A Petrie Bridge, Russia. The wind is the first thing you notice, long before you reach the bridge. It sweeps constantly between the limestone peaks of Mount Petrie, sending subtle vibrations through the steel cables. The suspension bridge spans only a few dozen meters, yet it hangs more than 1,200 meters above sea level. To reach the other side, visitors must walk across open steel mesh panels, with nothing but the vast mountains of Crimea stretching away on both sides. On windy days, the bridge sways noticeably beneath each step, causing even those who aren't afraid of heights to tighten their grip on the handrails. From the middle of the bridge, the sheer cliffs fall away below, while the Black Sea stretches across the horizon in the distance. The crossing takes less than a minute, but the feeling of standing suspended high above the mountains lingers long after your feet are back on solid ground. Eshima-Ohashi Bridge, Japan. From a distance, Eshima-Ohashi Bridge looks more like a wall than a bridge. The roadway rises so steeply that many first-time viewers think the cars are driving straight into the sky. The bridge connects Shimane and Tottori prefectures, spanning Lake Nakaomi, with a steep enough incline to allow large ships to pass beneath it. As you approach the crest, the road ahead almost disappears from view, leaving nothing but open sky beyond the windshield. That dramatic perspective has made Eshima Ohashi one of the most recognizable bridges on the internet. Although the real incline isn't nearly as extreme as it appears in many photos, pointing your vehicle up what looks like a massive concrete ramp is still enough to make plenty of drivers ease off the accelerator and tighten their grip on the steering wheel before continuing. Quetzalcoatl Bridge, Peru. High in the Peruvian Andes, there's a bridge that's rebuilt by hand every single year. Not with steel, not with concrete, but with grass. Quetzalcoatl Bridge is the last surviving Inca rope bridge, reconstructed by local communities using thick ropes hand-braided from ichu grass, preserving a tradition that has been passed down for generations. From a distance, it looks like a thin, brown line stretched across a deep canyon. But the moment you step onto it, the bridge feels softer, more flexible, and more alive than any modern suspension bridge. Below, the Apurimac River cuts through the gorge, while the rugged cliffs of the Andes rise on both sides. What makes Quetzalcoatl so unsettling isn't that it looks fragile, but that every step asks you to trust the craftsmanship of an entire community. Every rope is part of a ceremony. Every crossing carries centuries of history and tradition. Crossing Quetzalcoatl isn't just about getting to the other side. It's about walking across a living legacy that has endured for hundreds of years. Today's roads weren't just built to take people from one place to another. They prove that human determination can reach places that once seemed impossible. So, which road or bridge do you think is the most terrifying? And if you ever had the chance, would you actually dare to cross it? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy exploring the world's most incredible, remote, and breathtaking places, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more unforgettable journeys. Thank Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next adventure.